In this part of the light bulb drawing activity, we're going to combine the shape tool and the line tool. And this is really useful to be able to do because it helps you to create new shapes. So let's dive straight in. So before I continue, let me just show you what we're working towards. So we're going to create this illustration by going through these stages using shape building operations and commands, so that we can take 2 or 3 different shapes, 1, 2, 3, and create a new shape by merging them all together. So this is really useful if you're creating illustrations of humans, because face shapes, hand shapes are quite organic, and sometimes we can build those shapes instead of drawing them freehand, which can end up a little bit wobbly and take some time. We can build those shapes using basic shapes and then making some adjustments and edits to those. So let's dive in. So we've got a circle, and then we've used the ellipse tool to draw an ellipse, so almost a circle but a little bit longer than it is wide, and we've placed that on the top. Now the line tool, let me just delete this and show you how we draw the line tool. So we can go over to the line segment tool in the menu, okay, and then with the line tool it is a click and drag situation. Okay, so you click and you don't release until you are happy with where you want your line. Okay, just like that. Okay, so that's the line tool. So you can draw more lines just like this by clicking and dragging on the page. Okay, so that's how we do the line tool. So when we're drawing, when we're illustrating, quite often we're after symmetry. We don't want things to be wobbly. We want to try and achieve the same thing on both sides. One of the best ways to do that is to copy your item and then reflect it, so it's a mirror image on the same side. So we're going to do that process now. So I'm going to click on the line that I've just drawn, and if you're using a Windows machine, you would press Control C. If it's a Mac, Command C. So Command C to copy it. Now instead of just doing Command Paste, which will plonk it anywhere on the page, I'm going to use a similar function, which is Command F or Control F on a PC, and that is going to paste it in front. Control F or Command F stands for front. So Command F. You won't see any different because it's literally so well aligned that there are now 2 items, one on top of the other. So the next stage we're going to do is to reflect that top object. So I'm going to do 2-finger click on my trackpad. If you're using a mouse, you would right click here, and I'm going to go to this option called transform, then to reflect, and straight away it's reflected it, it's flipped it over on in a vertical 90-degree angle. And if that's what you're after, click OK. Okay. Now if you hold down the shift key and arrow to the right, it will keep you on the same plane, so you're not going up or down, and that way you know when you drop off your line they're both a mirror image of each other. So I'm happy I've got 2 lines now, they're both exactly the same length. Now I can perhaps align them to my shape as well. Okay, so I'm just going to use again the arrow key rather than sort of freehand dragging, because if I freehand drag, there's always the risk that it might go up or down and it won't be perfectly symmetrical across the horizontal. So I'm quite happy with that. Sometimes because of the way pixels fall, it's never exactly the same on each side, but as long as it's similar enough that the lines are intersecting. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to take these 2 lines and we're going to join them together to make a shape so that we can merge all of this together. So again, we're going to use the pen tool. So you can use, so not again because we used the line tool before, we're now going to use the pen tool. So the pen tool is in the tools menu up here. Now I've actually got it open on, let me just go back, that's the tool you should see, pen tool. Shortcut, press P on your keyboard. Okay, and that will bring up the pen tool. Now, the pen tool is really cool. It's got lots of different sub tools within it, which we're going to see a few of those now. So if you hover your pen tool over the end of an open line, you'll see this, that the symbol changes from an asterisk to sort of a forward slash. Now that means that you can continue drawing from this line. So if I click on the anchor point, you can see now that I'm pulling a line. I'm continuing to draw from that line. So I'm going to pull a line out and I'm going to drop it over here. Now again, watch how the pen tool, what would you call it, changes. The pen tool icon changes. I've now got this new icon, which means I'm joining. So if I click, I've now joined. So these are becoming one shape. Not quite a closed shape yet, but these lines are now together. This is an anchor point of the same line. Okay, so it's a corner point of the same line now because they've been joined together. So again, I'm going to do the same at the bottom, hover over. I can see my pen tool has changed, so I'm going to click, and then I'm going to point it towards. Now, you might not be able to see in this recording, but when you repeat this step, you'll see a new icon has come up, and that means it's the kind of an empty circle. This is the closing tool, so it will allow you to close the shape up. So now you have one complete shape. So a shape or an object in Illustrator is when it's not left open. It has to be closed. All points must close somewhere, and then you can add a fill color. So now we have a complete shape. So if I click on that, you can see that I could now color it in, and it's got lines to contain the color. So let's tone that down a bit. It's a bit bright, isn't it? Okay. Now I want to join all of these three shapes together to make one new shape, and I can do that using the Pathfinder tool. So you might not have this open at this stage. So if I get rid of mine, I'll show you how to open it. So you go to Windows, and you go to Pathfinder, and you should have a little dialog box pop up. So if you click on all three items, so click one, hold down Shift, click the next, click the next. Okay, you've got all three highlighted. Now if you go to the first option, because you've got lots of different things you can do with Pathfinder, the first option is Unite, and click there, it will unite all objects. Now as you can see, it has given us the red color, and that's not really the color we want to be working with. We can avoid that happening with a really simple step using another tool. So let's say we want this, I used red because red is really easy to see for when you're watching me draw lines. Let's say, for example, I want this red new shape to be the same as the other areas of the light bulb. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select just the shape, and I'm going to use a cool tool called the ink dropper, which is basically a copy cut tool. So if you press I on your keyboard once you've got a shape selected, and whatever you point it at is going to copy the stroke and the fill. It'll copy the line thickness, the color of the line or the stroke, and the fill color. So let's point it over here, and as you can see, it's copied what I pointed at. So now we've got everything in the same style, the same fill and stroke. So let's do that operation again with the Pathfinder. So I'm going to press V to go back to my select tool. I'm going to click off. I'm going to go select one, hold Shift, select this shape, select this shape. So I've selected all three shapes. The other way you can do this is by dragging over all three. Okay, so all three are selected now, and then I can do Unite. Okay, so it's united the shapes. Now because we are sort of working with circles and we're working with quite an angular shape, and there's obviously near perfect alignment, you can see here we've got some little jaggedy bits. Okay, so where it's where the previous angled shape was sat. It's simple to get rid of those. Again, we're going to use a pen tool function. To get this pen tool function up, we're going to press the minus key on your keyboard. Okay, so minus key, and you can see now I've got the pen tool with a minus symbol next to it. You can also access this by going to the tool itself and go to delete anchor point. Okay, so there's two ways of accessing it. Now what happens if you point at any anchor point on a line or at the end of a line, it will delete just that anchor point. So I'm going to delete this one, and I'll go across and do the same on the other side. Delete this one. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. Yeah, I've got kind of a little bit of a natural progression in. I've got some straight bits and the nice round circle at the top. So as you can see, we're drawing a light bulb. It's a nice shape for a light bulb, but this is also a really nice way to start building human faces or other parts of the body where you might have some straighter lines and then some more organic lines. And again, with the pen tool, there are other functions we can do. So if we just go back to the select tool, let's have a look, actually the direct select tool, we can move an anchor point around. Okay, so we can make some adjustments that way. Or there's another shortcut. We hold down Shift and C for Charlie on the keyboard, and we get this other version of the pen tool. And what this allows us to do is if we've got an anchor point that hasn't got any of these Bezier handles allow us to control the curve. So let's say I want this to be curved. It's not truly curved because it hasn't got two Bezier handles. I'm going to click and pull, and I've pulled out some Bezier handles. So now I can create even more like modifications and curves where there weren't curves before. So it can get a little bit tricky and wobbly if we keep creating new lines and mucking about with it, but it's all part of the learning process of using the pen tool and the shape tool together so that we can create new, more organic shapes. So notice I'm using the direct select tool. Shortcut for that is A, and that allows us to work on individual anchor points. If I use the normal select tool, the black anchor, and I click on the design, I'm going to be moving the whole thing because this tool selects the whole thing. The direct select tool, the white arrow, shortcut A, if you click on a point, you can then just manipulate that one anchor point. If you grab the Bezier handles, you can manipulate the curves. Okay, so you can start to make some funky alterations to your human-like organic shapes, if you like. I'm going to repeat that step for you. So I'm going to press Shift, and then C. I'm changing to this. I wonder what it's called actually. Let me just remind myself what it's called. Anchor point tool. Yeah. Okay. So it's called the anchor point tool, and it changes your anchor points to give them handles, or if they've already got handles and you do this tool, it will take them away. It will give you a sharp corner, like an angled corner, as opposed to putting curves on the line. Okay, so I'll show you that now. So if I click on this again, anchor points disappear. If I click on it again, I can pull those out, and the longer they are, the more exaggerated the curve. The shorter they are, the shorter that curve is. So again, it's just playing around with anchor points to develop our shape. Okay, so hopefully this has helped you to understand how we can use multiple shapes. We can merge them together to create a shape. We can use the function to transform and reflect to make sure they're both same on both sides, and once we're happy with that, we can go in if we want to make some minor adjustments and use the anchor tool, or use the direct select tool to move anchor points around.